We honor the flag, and you crap on it when you don't shoot your gun in the office.
Here we go.
Do it, yes.
Back in November, we interviewed Adam McKay. Along with that episode, we previously talked about The Big Short, Vice, and Don't Look Up at various times on the show. We haven't really talked about any of Adam's earlier movies as a full episode, when he was paired off with Will Ferrell. Tonight, we're talking about the last of those movies, The Other Guys.
Coming up against a full-grown 800-pound tuna with his 20 or 30 friends, you lose that battle. You lose that battle 9 times out of 10. And guess what? You've wandered into our school of tuna, and we now have a taste of lion. We've talked to ourselves.
The Other Guys is a buddy cop movie, or more accurately, a parody of a buddy cop movie, starring Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, as two of the NYPD's most low-ranking detectives. Mark Wahlberg is Detective Terry Hoyts, whose career in homicide stalled out when he accidentally shot Derek Jeter.
Shoot, I'll do it! Are you deaf? You hear me yell freeze?
You dick! I'm Derek Jeter, you shot me!
And Will Ferrell is Alan Gamble, a police accountant who's recently been promoted up to detective. When the NYPD's star cops, played by Samuel L. Jackson and The Rock, jump off a building during a high-speed chase and die, Terry Hoyts wants to reclaim his former place in the NYPD. And drags his nerdy partner Alan and his wooden gun along. When Hoyts and Gamble actually start ruffling feathers around the city with their first big case, their long-suffering captain, Gene Mouch, played by Michael Keaton, keeps trying to shut them down. And they're constantly undermined by rival cops, played by Rob Riggle and Damon Wayans Jr.
Try your hardest to not be black or Hispanic.
It's a good tip.
The case quickly starts spiraling out of control, with a billionaire scumbag played by Steve Coogan at the center of it. Alan also has a really hot wife, Sheila, played by Eva Mendes. Adam McKay wrote and directed The Other Guys with Chris Henchy of Funny or Die, the comedy website that McKay, Ferrell, and Henchy had launched together. Adam got the idea when he had dinner with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg and thought they'd make a great pair of buddy cops with their chemistry. You can already see the darker, more political edge to McKay's work. That would come out with his more serious stuff like The Big Short just a few years later. The NYPD of The Other Guys is not a nice place. At best, there's a frat boy energy to it. At worst, a much more rotten core. References abound to AIG and Enron, to the financial crisis that hit just 2 years earlier, to Wall Street greed, and to the police pension as a cat's paw for billionaires.
When I come back and bust your ass, we're locking David Ershon in the Federal Reserve.
You still didn't understand the concept.
Produced for $85 million, The Other Guys stands as a transition point between Adam McKay's earlier comedies like Step Brothers and Anchorman and his next phase as a political director.
I'm a peacock, Captain. You gotta let me fly on this one.
Peacocks don't fly.
They fly a little. They get a real running
About as
start.
much as a penguin. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Was that accidental, or were you trying to quote TLC on purpose?
I don't even understand the reference.
You're a worthless piece of shit.
Before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Then hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Super chats are now open. If you have any pressing questions, send us a super chat, which helps me maintain the expenses for the show, which I am obligated by the rules of the Geneva Convention to stop everything and ask the panel. Another way to help us out is to become a patron and give us money every month. In exchange, you get access to all of our after parties, bonus content, and we'll tell you even more movies we watched recently. Patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. We have a Movie Night Extravaganza Discord. There's an invite link in the episode description, and we have a Letterboxd HQ account. So those are 2 more places to follow along with us. Okay, let me introduce the illustrious panel. Kristina Oakes is a co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza and a Twitch streamer. You can find her streaming at twitch.tv/cosmopolitics. All of her social media accounts are also at Cosmopolitics. She's on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, and even occasionally on Letterboxd. Jordan Black, aka Dead Domain's YouTuber, filmmaker, game designer, and co-host of the WTF Now pod. YouTube.com/Dead Domain. I, of course, am not the hero New York City wants, but the hero it needs, and your host, Forrest Miller. I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly.
How many TLC references are we going to make during this stream?
All of them.
There's a
I
few
think
more.
it was.
By the way, what's up, Jordan?
Yeah,
Hey there, how we doing?
we're doing good.
all right.
Yeah.
I'm doing
I
good.
feel like-
Yeah.
I feel like that last TLC reference is too much, but like the fact that Will Ferrell is like, it's not funny anymore. Like it saves it last second.
Yeah. Oh my god! So I first time I saw this movie was back in I think it was on Stars when it was
Really?
after it came out on Blu-ray and DVD. And my dad,
How soon after it came out was it on Stars? Like pretty
not
fast.
even within it, yeah, pretty fast, almost
Yeah.
as soon as it got released on digital, on well, not digital, but Blu-ray and stuff like that. And I remember my dad watching and loving it because he likes, he thought it was so funny. He likes cop movies and stuff like that. And plus, it was really funny. He likes Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg, and I watched it with him. And every time it was on, we would go watch it and talk about it. And I just kept thinking, oh, the references, the jokes. It's it's one of those movies that has some of the best one-liners, over and over and over again.
Yeah. Which is all of Adam McKay's movies at this time, right? I mean, some of the greatest. Anchorman, Ricky Bobby. He was going through Step Brothers. He was going through this crazy phase of movies that you can quote pretty much every line from.
Yeah, he's the most quotable director in Hollywood.
At the time, most definitely. I think
Oh, yeah.
he got kind of eclipsed after this by Judd Apatow, I guess, right? I feel
Yeah.
like you can just in how many quotes from his movies are well regarded. I mean, fuck, we're going right from Walk Hard to this.
Yeah.
It's two insanely quotable movies. Jordan, when did you see this?
I remember seeing this, and I think I don't know if I've seen it since it came out, outside of maybe catching it on in brief snippets on cable and stuff, or seeing highlights on Twitter and being oh yeah, Michael Keaton was in that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I was surprised to go back to it because it's so representative of just not just a different era for McKay, but comedy and comedy films as a whole. It takes me back to holy shit, there wasn't can we swear on the show?
Oh yeah.
You swear as much as you want.
It takes me back to a time when it was just holy shit, Will Ferrell just ruled the roost as far as comedies. And it was that era of I distinctly remember being in middle school when Step Brothers came out, and it being so quotable and quoted all the time through the hallways and everything.
I still do. I still sometimes
Yeah.
every time there's someone that gets put into a cabinet or something, or Trump gets elected again, I'm I'm not gonna call him dad, even if there's a fire. And
But it's true. There is something there that is so, I don't want to say magical, because for every Adam McKay, for every Talladega Nights, for every Step Brothers, there were 1,000 American Pie 16s, or Project X, or Epic Movie, or just absolute bottom of the barrel garbage.
yeah.
But there is something slightly appealing. Maybe it's just how heavy the world is right now. There's something that is more appealing about a movie like this, where it is dumb humor, it's dumb comedy, but it is still intelligently made. It is incredibly well crafted and well written, and certainly well acted. And I don't know. I kind of miss goofy comedies like this. We don't really get them anymore.
Yeah. Mid-level comedies, right? They're not super expensive. They're not like someone didn't pour like their heart and soul into making like a comedy. Like I feel like, you know, you get like Nathan Fielder now, which is like prestige comedy, or you get the worst fucking movie you've ever seen made by like the Daily Wire trying to bring back like 2007 style comedies. Like you get,
and that's what I was thinking as I was watching this. I'm like, this is exactly the kind of movie that the Daily Wire with Lady Ballers was trying to resonate with. And it's fascinating because you mentioned in the opening reel how this is kind of a parody of cop movies, but like so many other Adam McKay movies and Will Ferrell movies, it walks this almost surreal balance of being a pair. Like it's not quite as absurd as like a Mel Brooks parody, but at the same time, because it has like a little bit more character work to it, at the same time, it is so uniquely ridiculous that I look back and I'm like, okay, that's kind of why Daily Wire probably had such a hard time locking in on this, is that there is a special sauce, whether it's on McKay, whether it's on Will Ferrell. Like there's just something unique to this mixture that I don't think anybody's quite gotten since.
Well, I don't think even Will Ferrell has gotten since, right? Like,
Will
Ferrell kind of fell off after his partnership with McKay, like after their kind of, you know, quote unquote breakup. I mean, they went into like producing a lot of stuff, but even when McKay kind of stepped back and started working on his own stuff, and they have like the Mark Wahlberg, like, you know, but like Will Ferrell, like they have those
Daddy's Home.
And
then they did the sequel, which was not good. Like they wanted to capitalize on their chemistry with Daddy's Home. I mean, the first one is pretty good, but then the second one is like, oh, you know, maybe they should do like, you know, they could have been a good, interesting like duo in like other comedy roles, but it just kind of fizzled out real quick.
Yeah. I feel like the problem with doing something like Daddy's Home, right, is that we've already had like Meet the Fockers and like that, like Meet the Parents, like that kind of thing, and they were trying to do that, but with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, I feel like this movie works a lot better because
Moms,
this buddy cop relationship, right? Like there's no desire to create like a family that's around them. Then it's like, oh, you know, these are the kooky parents or whatever. Like you're just in this weird intimate space where it's like two guys that are cops that are trying to, you know, break out of the pack or whatever, that are both just not suited for it. I mean, Mark Wahlberg because is you know,
shut your ear, for God's sakes, who does that?
9/11 temper, you know, but like it works with his like, you know, like his like weird, like I could have stopped 9/11 if I was there kind of like
he always says that too. I'm like, dude, get over it. Like, no, you couldn't have.
Definitely the guy who
Cruise could have stopped 9/11. Let's be real.
I think Patrick Swayze could have stopped 9/11.
Yeah,
he would have kicked to be like, you'd done the Roadhouse.
Yeah.
But
I think
like,
I think it's funny though that that Ice-T narrates this, because it's the peak of Law and Order SVU. Like this is the peak of when people were watching all the crime shows too. Like people still do, but like this was like at its peak where every network had like 5 different crime shows coming, like airing throughout the week.
And
so he was perfect.
So excessive about the way that he's like, you know, like
I don't know why they did it, but it was stupid.
But like these weird cliches, and the fact that he's not a character in the movie. He's literally just the guy narrating it. Like it makes an extra level of like extra that you're like, if this was anybody else and the special sauce didn't work like this, like it would have been cooked from that. But it's like somehow it works. Like
and having The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson play those two cops, even when I was watching like that first scene, I'm like, these guys are not good cops. I mean, again, $12 million of property damage over a misdemeanor marijuana charge. But hey, they blew up Trump Tower though, so that's good.
There is this moment where because you mentioned again in the reel that this feels like McKay slipping into very comfortably a more political style of comedy or satire, and I think that shows through really well. And I think you're absolutely right. Is like when you actually look at, you know, literally any cop in this movie are either wildly incompetent, like just, and it's played for laughs a lot of the time, but like firing guns off in the office, you know, the point at which Mark Wahlberg takes Will Ferrell out of the office, he's like, I'm being kidnapped. We're in a police department. Does nobody care about this? And there's so many moments throughout that it's like, this is not even as comedy, even as the good guys, like none of this can really be called propaganda because everybody is either an idiot or so self-interested that
Yeah.
they kind of abdicate the the responsibilities that fictional cops usually have.
It's all
Yeah.
about the image and popularity with these guys.
Yeah,
That's all it
exactly.
is. They want they want all the goods. They want the press. They want the adulation. It's like that's
Well, there's
not
that
what
line,
a
right?
cop is supposed to be about.
That line hit so hard, the Michael Keaton line where he's like, whatever, like whatever.
They were not good cops, right?
They were not good cops. And then they're like, yeah, I guess we kind of knew that, but like they seemed so cool when they were doing everything. And
Yeah.
there's that scene where he's in the SEC. It's so hard to say that. I hate saying that. But he's in the SEC and he has that speech that he gives to the guy that, the crooked guy that's literally like Urshan's lawyer. That's David from The Office. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't see him as anything except David from The Office. But like he gives that speech and he's like, you guys are like the perfect, you guys do the best investigations besides Bernie Madoff and AIG and Enron. And like, you know what I mean? He gives that whole, like, he has a whole list of, he just rattles them off. And it's like, because of the financial crash that just happened, you could already tell that Adam McKay had like his brain working. His next movie was going to be Big Short. And like, we talked to him about that when, we talked about this as like a transitional point. And he's like, well, I've always tried to like sprinkle my politics into whatever I'm doing. Like, I think it's just natural. And I was like, yeah, but this feels like a transition point in some way. Like,
yeah, that's one thing we talk about with the other guys. It's like, you were sprinkling your politics, and it's like this was a good transitional to go doing films like The Big Short and Vice and Don't Look Up, like, because in the end credits, he shows how like a Ponzi scheme works.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool. Like, this was not his most political film, but he was like, I'm gonna, it's all gonna come together. We figure out they're trying to steal from the police pension.
There is a vitriol to like there's a venom to the way some of that stuff is handled, that even if it is with a very light hand, the other part that really struck me about this movie is how it serves as this kind of time capsule in a way that I haven't really, because like if you go back and visit other comedies from roughly around this time period, like go back and visit The Hangover or something, and it's like, okay, like it's it took place obviously a decade ago, but there's nothing really as far as cultural touchstones of the things that were happening in the world that remind you of like the political landscape at the time. But this is chock full, top to bottom, just relics of another time in like the American mindset. And like it reminds me of and this is a a very different film, but I believe it's Saw 7 has a very similar thing where it kind of decided to focus on and center the ideas of like insurance companies. And this was around the time of Medicare and Medicaid getting passed, and the responsibilities that doctors have to their patients versus how much money they're getting paid versus like how much somebody's life is judged to be worth. And it is this kind of this social commentary, I feel, breaking through from places that you wouldn't necessarily, again, like you look at the previous movies here, you're not expecting this kind of cutting social commentary from the team who made Talladega Nights or Anchorman.
Yeah.
Even though it's something like, I mean, even Anchorman, right? Like I rewatched it for our interview like 6 months ago when we talked to Adam McKay, and like there's so many like little petty references to like the Bush administration within that, and it's like I totally forgot that Steve Carell's kind of like I've not to cancel me for this word, like his kind of retarded character, like mentally challenged character, right? Like it's like, oh, he went on to join
Donald Rumsfeld and Vice.
Yeah, I mean, like, they literally have the thing at the end that it's like he went on to join the Bush administration, and it's like, damn, like they had such a petty like relationship to that, and it makes sense. Like a guy from Adam McKay's moment in time when he really like got famous and when he was on SNL, like and Will Ferrell too, right? Like Will Ferrell has he literally was George W. Bush, like
yeah, he was. Also, Adam McKay makes a cameo in the movie.
He does the George W. Bush face in this movie a lot. He does like
he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam McKay has a cameo in this movie. He plays the homeless dude, the head of the homeless group that has orgies and drugs in the Prius or whatever.
That's funny. That's funny.
I
I was
imagine
like,
that.
wait a minute, I know that face.
I imagine that's like those are the homeless guys that Anna Kasparian imagines whenever she's talking about homeless people.
Yes. Yeah.
But like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, and that
car,
whole scene is really.
the car symbolizes like the progression of like how things are going for the characters in the movie. Also, what the fuck with the shoes? Stealing the shoes? Like they stole my shoes.
Never explained. Never explained.
But that's like the same. That's the same bit that he kind of. I mean, I don't want to say recycles. This is in such a different context, but in Don't Look Up, when literally the general steals their money and walks out, and they're like, the snacks were free, but he took our money, and they're just trying to like work that out. I feel like the shoe bit or the is the same bit.
Yeah. Forrest, you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Just coughing.
Yeah, I know the feeling. But yeah, like I also the one thing that's in every Will Ferrell movie is that someone that's as attractive as he is has like the hottest girlfriend or wife.
Oh my god,
ever.
yeah. Eva Mendes in this, it got me wondering, like,
actress.
She like what happened to Eva Mendes? Because I had such a crush on her in the in like the early 2000s because she was in a ton of stuff that was great.
She kept being typecast. She kept having to fight for roles, and so she retired and became Ryan Gosling's baby mama. Like she could have been a good like comedic actress, like a Jay Mansfield or Priscilla Presley, like a beautiful woman with great timing. Like if she stuck with like comedy, she probably would have. But she, she kept, she got tired of fighting for good roles and being in slop. And I'm like, I don't blame you. I don't blame her.
I totally forgot she's Ryan Gosling's baby mama, and
I know.
And I was looking up. I was like, "What happened to Eva Mendes?" And then it was like, "Oh yeah, she was like live tweeting when he won or when he was up for Ken or whatever." And
he had the necklace and he did that at the camera at the end of performance. But his daughters, their daughters are probably gorgeous. He
gives Eva Mendes the attention that Will Ferrell in this movie does not. Like
yes. Like I love like Mark Wahlberg is like, wait, who is that? Why are you married to Alan? Your breasts are great.
Well, it's such a great bit
Bye,
too,
Sheila.
because like that bit would work really well if it was just her, right? Like if it was just like, oh, he has a hot wife. But the fact that it's every fucking hot woman and nobody looks at Mark Wahlberg the entire no woman, even his own
he's like, what he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Terry. I don't know. I don't like what are you talking about? What? That girl just smiled and flirted with you. I don't know.
And he said like Heather Locklear was his
but she was fat apparently. Also the whole thing about him being a pimp in college, like you were totally a pimp. Your outfits were changing as you were making more money, dude. Like chill out. He finally embraced it though by the end.
That Gator bit. The fact that his name's Gator too is so funny.
It's like again, it's that like it's like dipping into an entirely separate film, like the type of comedy where it is so ridiculously absurd and detached from reality. You have this, 40, 50-year-old Will Ferrell in these college scenes being a pimp, and
everyone's like 20 something.
Yeah, and everybody like they're playing it entirely straight, and then it flashes back to serious conversation between Marky Mark and Will Ferrell. And it's like it's almost something you would see in like a scary movie, but there is something to the way the tone is played and the way everybody still treats it as character and character development that keeps you kind of grounded in the actual story that I find like kind of fascinating.
Yeah. I think that's good. That's like good comedy though, right? Like we were talking about Walk Hard, like the Dewey Cox story last week. And part of the reason I think that movie works is that it's played so seriously. Like John C. Reilly plays it, the entire movie as if he is like a Johnny Cash type figure that we're all supposed to know. And I think similarly in this movie, it's Will Ferrell has like this very genuine and like, I mean, very weird in this movie, but very genuine like spirit to him that you're like, pretty much as mean as things can get, right? Like he can kind of reel it back in. And Mark Wahlberg does not have that. I think that's why their chemistry works so well. It's like, oh, this is like the biggest asshole ever, and like a guy that's kind of really passive, but like I don't know, there's like some energy to Will Ferrell specifically that it works really well between the two of them.
Yeah, they have different types of like intelligence. Like that whole thing about like a lion in the ocean was so good because Mark Wahlberg, he's like, what? What is he going on about?
I feel like that had to have been ad-libbed because the look on Mark Wahlberg's face felt like such genuine confusion. Like there was a certain point where Will just kept going and kept ad-libbing, and Mark had no idea where it was going to stop.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, oh, you're just gonna go ramble on and like,
because it goes on for a while.
It does. It does.
I completely forgot that during this time, this is when Mark Wahlberg was producing Entourage. Like he was the, he was like
I produced Entourage. So how do you mother for me?
Yeah, he was like one of the main, like executive producers of that show. And at the same time, he's like, all right, well, I've dipped my feet into like TV production. I've dipped my feet into being in every like shitty, action movie, like and rapping and beating up a Vietnamese guy. Really, just the every kind of every style. But no, like he was like, I really want to get into comedies. And I guess the way that this movie came about is that Adam McKay had dinner with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, like for some reason, like not talking about a movie, he just like hung out with them one night. And like no idea why the two of them were both there together, but they were all eating. And he's like, there's some chemistry that works here. And he ended up writing the script because he wanted to see a buddy comedy movie that was like Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg as buddy cops. And I feel like this movie works really well because like these roles are written for them. Like I don't think anyone else could have played these roles. I mean, maybe you could swap out Will Ferrell for like Steve Carell, I guess. That's like the only.
Yeah, but you need that tall. You need like a tall 6 foot because Mark Wahlberg is really short. I mean, looking at
that's true.
Like he's like a foot taller than him. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like someone that has that kind of like earnest, but like kind of hard to fathom energy,
Riley?
I guess. Yeah, but even then, like I think he's very earnest, but I think he's a little bit too serious for this kind of like. It's hard. Like he worked really well with Will Ferrell because they were matching each other's energy. But if it's John C. Reilly and Mark Wahlberg, I don't know what energy he'd be matching. Like I feel like his comedies work really well when he has another person on his level, which is a really hard thing to pull off. I feel like because like this movie works because one of them is a straight man and the other one is like really nerdy, like what I mean? Like, yeah. So like
one's a ticking time bomb, the other one's like
but like Mark Wahlberg kind of they kind of both play straight man to each other, I guess.
Yeah.
But like in Step Brothers, neither of them play a straight man, and like that I feel like is a really hard thing to pull off when both main characters are out of their fucking minds. And everyone around them has to be like the force that reels them back in.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, the other thing I really liked about this was that it took me to a different time period where I was like, oh, damn, right. All of these guys were in this. Like The Rock looks entirely different than he does now. Like he's still in that like baby Rock phase where he can get away with just being effortlessly charming. And that's all he really needs to be there for. And like Sam Jackson is again way, way older now. Having Rob Riggle's partner.
Damon Wayans.
Yeah, Damon Wayans. There, Michael Keaton, like going at Steve Coogan, like the cast is just
Ray Stevenson.
Ray Stevenson out of nowhere. I was like, oh.
R.I.P. By the way, he recently passed away, and I'm like,
we talked about that when we talked about RRR.
Yeah, he was just randomly in that movie.
Oh, yeah, because he was in that.
Yeah,
he's like
weird.
He's so different, and like he put on so much weight. I feel like for RRR versus like in this movie, he's slim. He's looking good. I feel like if he didn't put on the weight,
I think this would have been around the time he did Punisher Warzone too. So that's probably why he's still probably in good like fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's interesting too is that like with this whole plot, it just feels like, that they're being gaslit by everyone. They're like, you guys are not good enough. Don't put your nose to where it don't belong.
Just like me getting gaslit by everyone.
But it's interesting because it's like, they have a case here, but there's always like some excuse like, oh, there was a gas leak at this really shady insurance building or whatever the hell. There's, oh, he's having an affair with some woman and that's filing a restraining order against him. Like, there's always some type of excuse. But then, of course, even Michael Keaton, like, what I like about Michael Keaton is that he doesn't play it too aggressive. Like, he's not like a complete asshole to these two. Because again, he also works at a Bed Bath & Beyond, and the bath mats are coming in on Monday. Anyway,
I like that he keeps telling everyone his son's bisexual. Like,
yes,
he's like the one guy, the DA. He's like,
he's just like, that's fantastic.
He's like wonderful.
Yeah, it's like my son's. I got paid for my son's tuition because he wants to go to Yale or no, like what?
No, NYU. He's
NYU to explore bisexuality, and they're like, okay. And then he's like,
NYU is famously like one of the most fucking expensive schools ever, and people just go there and like become bisexual. Like it is like a real. Like,
that's what happened to me. Just kidding. And then like him mixing up like his two jobs. He's like, okay, we got serial rapists in Crown Heights. Oh wait, no, worry about that if you live in Crown Heights. Like he plays it because this was at a point in Michael Keaton's career where he really, because I was looking at his career, he wasn't really doing so well in his career. Like he was doing like a lot of supporting roles, a lot of voice acting roles. It wasn't until after he did Birdman that there was a resurgence in his career.
Yeah,
so a role like this was very perfect for him because it's like he doesn't play completely straight, but like he does seem one of the more like almost competent characters compared to like the other, the people that are under him, all the other cops who do seem like big douche canoes.
I've always loved him.
Whisper fight.
Obviously Beetlejuice is one of my favorite movies, but like but also just like I feel like the Tim Burton Batman like movies, just like as a kid, right? Like now, like I fuck with the Christopher Nolan ones as like an adult, but like as a kid, I feel like the Tim Burton Batman movies are the ones that, because of like the cartoonish nature of all of it, where it resonated so much harder with me than, like the more serious like Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale ones. So it's like there's just something very familiar
and like the soundtrack for them. So
there's something very familiar and comforting about any movie that I see Michael Keaton in. And I hope I hope one day I'm not watching a movie and it's like, oh, he's a serial killer and kills everybody in his bed.
He's fine. He's fine. But I mean, the scene where they go to the funeral or like like the I guess reception for like the Samuel Jackson, The Rock, and they're all whispering at each other, and then they do like a whisper fight, and they're like, wait, stop. Okay, continue. Like, and then Michael Keaton's like, what are you guys doing? 2 men are dead. You guys are workers stuck about who's gonna be next finish shot.
But that's like a real thing. If you've ever like hung out with like a bunch of guys in like a locker room or something at school, and two dudes will start punching each other in the fucking locker room, and then the coach will come and be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing in here?" And like they'll be trying to pretend that they're not fighting in the locker room or something. Like that's like a perfect. And I feel like Adam McKay at this time was great at capturing like both in this and like Step Brothers, great at capturing like that energy where it's like perpetual adolescence. Like everybody's
and grown
kind of
adults.
Yeah. Like 40-year-old men doing fucking perpetual adolescent stuff.
Yeah. I also forgot that oh god, who else was it? The whole like the group where it's like I shot the thing that Terry's in where it's like you accidentally shot someone or you popped your gun when you shouldn't have.
Yeah, an office pop.
Yeah, it's and talking about like the Derek Jeter situation. Some guys like, you cost me $20,000 on that game, douchebag, and they're like, this is not a judgmental space. And I'm like, he shot Derek Jeter. It's definitely going to be a judgmental space. What are you talking about, lady?
That whole scene where they're talking through like the like discharging your gun thing. It's very Departed. Where like he has to go to counseling with the fucking woman and like.
It very much feels like a spin on the classic, again, like it walking the line of like not quite it's not quite like Police Academy or Naked Gun, but it is still like everybody knows the, turn in your badge and your gun, but it is it comes off so different when the captain is Michael Keaton, who's not really a hard ass. He's not like, damn it, Riggs and Murtaugh. When he's just like, my kid's bisexual. He's going to NYU. I'm working at Bed Bath and Beyond. And it's like, it is again, this fun spin that manages to keep it grounded through the personality while still being like everybody knows that some of these things are coming in this kind of movie. Like, that there's gonna be, they talk about Ice-T's like intro at the beginning, going through the different kinds of officers. You got the jokers, you've got the hot shots and the captain, and then the other guys. Yes. And so I think that is like such a fun way to subvert those moments. But I also think, like, going back to Michael Keaton real quick, I think he's such a fun character because, again, there is a little bit of that like social commentary sneaking through with the fact that you have this dude who is in charge of a police squad in New York City, and he still does not make enough money to put his kid through college. He has to work a regular menial ass day job additionally.
Yeah, and that's why you gotta fund the police pension, right?
But he's also doing the same. He's doing the same role at both jobs. Like, that's what makes it kind of interesting.
Yeah,
he's the man, like the day manager or whatever at the Bed Bath and Beyond, and the captain on a police squad, and getting those wires crossed is such a funny bit because it's like, yeah, of course you would. Like, you like bring your shit home with you, or if you're that guy, like you bring that shit to like your second job, and like. It is perfect because it's like right in the wake of the financial crisis. It's like, yeah, a lot of people have to work 2 jobs. Those are just such like night and day things where he's like, all right, we got to get people in here. They're going to love the bath mats. And then the other job, he's literally like a homicide. He's like the captain of the homicide squad for like the worst part of, the NYPD.
Yeah. Also too, would us discussing this film be a recession indicator?
Yeah, I think that's why, but unless that's why we picked it out, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, but I do think it's interesting how all the
I think us interviewing Adam McKay was a recession indicator.
Yeah, it was. But I think it's interesting though that like we were thinking like, where does this whole plot lead to? Like, what's going on? Where's the money coming from? And the fact that, and also I forgot Anne Heche is in this movie. They're trying to steal from the police, the pension, which we all know Chris Christie basically took away the pension program in New Jersey. There's almost nothing for those who are going to retire. And because they want to force people to do 401ks and not have pensions or any like Social Security or whatever, which is ridiculous. So there's that angle as well.
Well, the first thing they really talk about in The Big Short, like literally the first scene, they're talking about how all of these different like pensions for teachers and for public servants and all that stuff, they invested heavily those funds into the mortgages that like pretty much into the companies that were also investing in mortgages, and those blocks of credit that they were pretty much doing, which the Jenga tower, pretty much like a lot of that was pension funds. Like a lot of that was invested money from pension funds. So you can already see the wheels turning in his head where it's like, yeah, like this guy's like the venture capitalist fucking weirdo, like
Steve Coogan of all guys too. Yeah. Like I'm like, really? That he's like a weak little pussy. My favorite moment though is when he tries to bribe them over and over again to get the Knicks game, and of course Brooke Shields is like, "Call me," and then he's like, "Gentlemen, you have a choice, Mamma Mia or Jersey."
Oh yeah,
and they're like.
The first time,
and they choose Jersey Boys, and I'm like, yeah, Jersey Boys, and he's just standing up clapping.
When you first see Steve Coogan, he's giving that speech about excess, and he's like, keep spending money. Behind him, the thing says Center for American Capitalism. It's literally like a Federalist Society / like Heritage Foundation kind of PAC like joke, or like CPAC, right? Like it's something like that. Like he's literally giving a speech to those people. And then, he steps down, and it's like your first sign that this is a complete scumbag. And it's like, it's such an interesting Obama era relic, kind of, what I mean? Like,
and then,
now they'd go too hard with it, and they'd be like, the Center for Conservative something, and they like have to make it like witty. I feel like the Center for American Capitalism is like the perfect sweet spot there.
Yeah, and I love how Anne Heche is like, how much did we lose? 52. She's like, million, billion. And she's like, $52 billion.
There's like a additional layer of satire. It's almost almost like they live-ish with the whole Lendl Global company, where every conversation people are like, yeah, I'm always trying to, I see the commercials for them. I cannot tell you what they do. But then like their motto is literally, we're in everything. And it's like, yeah, they are in weapons or medical care or real estate, or, you know, like they're essentially yeah, like they're essentially like, you know, a BlackRock or one of these giant investment groups that is, you know, they are behind all in some fashion, in some form. They are, again, it is that post bailout era where so many people were like, you know, suddenly everybody knew who like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were. Because it was such a massive controversy. And it kind of reminds me of that, because before, you know, even today, I feel a lot of people hear names of these massive corporations and they're like,
what do they do?
We just assume that they do something to keep the economy running, when the roles that they're playing can often be like far more nefarious.
Well, I mean, that's what Enron was. Like,
exactly.
Enron was literally a company that I still couldn't tell you exactly what they did, or even like Halliburton. Like, I mean, they're in so many different things. But like, there's a long history of like Omnicorp.
They're in the walls.
Like, you can look at Omnicorp, and it's like, what does Omnicorp do? Well, literally everything. Like, they power the entire city. They're the city government. They're, you know, they're the police force. They're everything in that in Detroit in fucking RoboCop. And it's like that kind of company, Lendl Global. Like, it's a good name.
Yeah, because it sounds like a real company. I'm like, are they a real company? Oh wait, they're not. Adam McKay coming up with the best fake names, real names for fake companies and organizations.
I just the Center for American Capitalism like sends me like every time I see the Steve Coogan standing in front of, because it's like that is what they call every, like, you know, some variation of that, or like,
yeah, it's like, oh my god, this is so obvious what the goal is here. Like, come on now, like it's so funny. Like every you know, election near the midterms, conservative think tanks get together to figure out what the fear monger about, whether it be Marxism, CRT, woke, DEI, and people fall for it.
And this is like the moment before the classic, like, I mean, this is like right as YouTube's blowing up, right? Like right as you know, like Funny or Die is kind of blowing up, like Adam McKay and, you know, Will Ferrell starting that. Like, this is that moment, like right before everyone's kind of bringing in like phones and like secretly recording, you know, like the like, so like this is the moment where you can be someone like the Center for, you know, American capitalism. Do a speech like that and be like, they're probably not going to record this like completely evil speech. Like 1 or 2 years later, like they absolutely would have.
Yeah.
You'd have you know, like Mother Jones or something, like leaked audio. No one would read it, but it'd be like leaked audio from the Center for American Capitalism.
Yeah. Also, Noisy Immigrant, thanks for the raid, and shout out, of course, to Jordan. They love you too. That Brianna Wu, if we're doing an after party, I would love to talk about that video that you did about Brianna.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I got a lot of shit to talk anyway. But yeah, like you know, you're right though, Forrest, about like, you know, the whole like, you know, Center for American Capitalism or whatever, how like all these like, you know, type of real like shady organizations, and the fact that, again, you know, something like this would be something that, you know, Alan keeps digging. He's like, you know, there's something funny, something just doesn't add up. And again, they're like, just ignore it. You're whatever, like it's, you know, too big for your britches. Nothing's really going on, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, he keeps insisting. And my favorite moment in the movie is when they're like, Terry has to do traffic, and Alan's still like, you know, poking holes and trying to figure out what's going on. And then they got him in like a room, a hotel room, where he's like, this place might be bugged. And Phil Collins, Against the Odds, starts playing. Like, you know what? That is the perfect song to play in this scenario, because Terry's gonna give up. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm fine with doing I'm fine doing traffic. I love it. Like listening all the cool things that he experiences every day. And Al's like, what happened to you?
That's a very I feel like that's a very Brooklyn Nine-Nine joke. To have him be like, oh, I'm actually really good at being a traffic cop, and to have like someone have to like slap it out of him to be like, no, like, you're going back to homicide.
Yes. I mean, this soundtrack is really good too. Like, I love
the Little River Band, Friday night, and
yeah, and then of course, you know, Mark Wahlberg's playing some hard rock, like, yeah, let's go. And he's like playing Little River Band again. And then he's like,
another joke before we move away from like the political parts of it too far. Another joke that I really, really love is when they go, "We found your Prius," and it's like, "It was trying to vote for Ralph Nader."
And he's like, come on.
There's speaking of the music, there's a great like the running bit that the payoff is in the credits of the original song "Pimps Don't Cry."
Yes.
Which I didn't realize was original, and I was like, there's no fucking way that this is a song that somebody wrote before this. But no, it was made for the movie by CeeLo Green and Eva Mendes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love the scene in the bar where they're singing like those sad like folk songs, and you're listening to the lyrics, and you're like, "Wait, what is this? What are they singing about?" And then he goes back,
and then again,
goes back to singing.
They completely aren't even paying attention. Like Mark Wahlberg just kind of looks over his shoulder, and then doesn't reference it again, and it's so. Yeah, just like another one of those weirdly perfect things.
They have the perfect, because it's like it sounds like they're old folk songs, but then they all of a sudden they're like, "While their Harry Potter books were burned,
and it was consensual." Like, I'm like, what?
Even that part, right? Like you could see old people, like some like '60s song about consent, but like just slipping in like while their Harry Potter books were burned. It's like, okay, all right.
You know what? That's a lot. That's relevant now because But I like
now the kids will be burning their Harry Potter books. They'll be like, "Nah, let's do this. Let's burn this Harry Potter book."
But you know what's funny is I like when they go back to the bar in that sequence where it's just them frozen in different, like in a continuous shot. I wish I'd asked Adam how he filmed that part because that would have been interesting.
I think it's wax.
Yeah, it looked like wax. They did look like wax figures.
They're like wax, like they're slightly off, all of them, and I think they like. I feel like if you ask them, there's probably like a Madame Tussauds exhibition. That's
the other guy's exhibition, like
because I was wondering the same thing. I'm like, this is like it's a very impressive sequence, but I'm like, it seems odd to like spend a film's entire. Sorry, my dog is woofing. It seems odd to spend like an entire CG like this. It's not like a really heavy CGI film by any stretch. And in fact, one of the kind of subtle jokes that I enjoyed at the, I think it was a subtle joke at the very beginning of the movie was like the if you look really close in the opening chase sequence with Sam Jackson and The Rock, all of the car green screen effects are so shitty. Like, especially in Sam Jackson's car, it looks like it's like Bullet or something. Well, and even just the way the window moves outside and like kind of shaky, it just looks like a 70s car chase scene, which I have to imagine was intentional.
It's that classic thing where, I mean, as a guy with a green screen behind me, where you have to move because the car isn't moving, and they're clearly doing that, right?
And they're not really doing much to move like the fake car or whatever. It's like you gotta have like in order to like, I know they would have like a moving screen where it looks like they're the car, but they have to have like the car on top of something that helps it move, so it looks like everyone's moving. But I guess they didn't do that. But again, good car chase scenes. I love the scene where they're doing that before the transfer happens, and of course. And I asked Adam McKay this. I'm like, you picked a perfect song, Monday, Monday by the Mamas and the Papas, my favorite song of all time, for a car chase scene. Because they could have chose Manic Monday. They could have chose any other song about a Monday. They chose that one because it actually kind of fits with Alan's type of like music, like his kind of what he vibes with. And even Terry's like, not what I would have chosen, but screw it. Whatever.
It's so funny that he and Conan and Adam McKay were bonding over their music tastes.
Yeah,
it was like, oh shit,
let's go. Yeah, that was so funny. But I love the scene where he's like, he does like the whole pivot maneuver because like that's something that a lot of cops are doing. Because Cody over at Some More News was talking about how a lot of cops are doing the pivot maneuver, and that causes a lot more damage and death because you're not supposed to be doing that. But that's what he does in the movie, because they're like, where'd you let her drive like that? Grand Theft Auto. And then he's like, someone's been like playing Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's what, I also really like. I wish we'd asked how they did the helicopter, like the helicopter just coming in and like
Yeah.
everybody taking shots with the golf balls.
I
and
know.
like that's such an insane scene. Like it feels like they had the beginning where they had like the shitty green screen and all that stuff, and like they had other parts where it's like clearly like they had to save up money to do that final sequence. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
because the final sequence is so crazy, which so I feel like a lot of movies actually do that, but it's like
Golf can
why
save the
not?
day, guys.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's funny.
It's always one of those things where it's like you're following at a certain pace, and then the end of the movie is so much like the pace picks up so much faster that you're like having trouble following it. You're like, no, I was used to the like the
slowest
banter.
pace. And that's what a lot of people like out when I was looking through the letterbox, like actual reviews are like, it starts off very slow, but then like the last third act things really like pick up to the point where you're like, ah.
I mean, which is that is like the buddy cop genre, right? Like,
yeah,
it's like that on crack a little bit.
Yeah,
it does have it is kind of like it is somewhat anticlimactic. I almost feel because it doesn't. It goes through all of the same dips and valleys that like there's a formula to these things. You have the two partners, you have like the long night of the soul where they separate, they go their separate. It's in a lot of ways, I guess, buddy cop movies aren't that different than romantic comedies.
Yeah.
Usually where they as you are instigating and navigating the conflict, there's always this kind of third act breakup and then come back together, put aside their differences. And usually in buddy cops, there's a shootout and a penultimate fight with the bad guy. There's, diplomatic immunity. It's just been revoked, like a cool line. And I feel like that was almost missing here, or that was kind of missing here. So the one thing that I think the kind of better, if you are looking at just a better parody of the kind of cop genre that is kind of self-aware, I think Hot Fuzz does the self-awareness thing a lot better.
Yeah.
Where, and as far as like those keeping track of those tropes and poking fun at them, because you have like the talking about cool action lines and like, oh, I said this cool thing. It's like, oh, that's awesome. And that I do kind of wish there was something like that here as they are trying to assume this role of being these badass action hero guys.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably hard to like. This is like 2010. It's probably like, oh, Hot Fuzz did that, and it's like
that's true. That's true.
That movie is so fucking good. But they take so many like actual movie, like there's so many YouTube videos now that like break down like how many, and it's like 50 or 100 movies that get referenced throughout Hot Fuzz. Just little sequences that like you don't even catch on to like the first 500,000 times you watch it, and it's like this movie feels like. I guess that's where parody kind of breaks down to describe this, because there's something like this is just kind of doing the thing a lot. Like it feels less, because the word parody has gotten used a lot with this movie, and it's like it feels less parody, and it feels like it is a buddy cop movie. Like whereas like Hot Fuzz feels like a specific parody of like a thing.
Yeah, and this is at the point where so many of those two dudes kept directing all those parody movies that were just so not funny and just too much pop culture references, too much, like making fun of like every like 50 plus movies and starring, Carmen Electra and Kim Kardashian for some reason. Like those are but to me those are parody of parody.
It's funny that we brought up two of those movies twice in episodes. Yeah.
Also, stop trying to make Kim Kardashian. I get it. She's not able to pass the bar to become a lawyer, like her dad, and whatever. But like, stop trying to make her an actor. She's starring in 2 new projects now. What the fuck?
I'll never forget though the epic movie one where it's Fred Willard is Aslan from Chronicles of Narnia, and Jennifer Coolidge is the White Witch.
See, like the real problem with going back to those the Zucker movies, the Zucker brothers, going back to those and things like Meet the Spartans and Date Movie and all that bullshit, is that like their hit to miss ratio was abhorrent, like just
Yes,
vile.
Yeah.
miss.
But
I always felt
every
like there
now
was
and
some money
again,
laundering. There was like some money laundering that had to be going on.
towards the end of that
Yeah.
streak, they like had to have been.
Yeah.
But then like every now and then there was like one or two okay jokes, or they get somebody, they get like I think it was superhero movie or date movie.
Yeah.
One of them that had like Tracy Morgan as like a black Professor X.
Yes.
And
yes.
and it's like
I heard
this is pretty good. This is pretty good.
They might make him black now, and a lot of people are mad about that. I'm like, shut up. Just stop.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to 10 years of
Woke.
discourse on that. Yeah.
Oh,
one of the craziest
Welcome to
ones.
Dairy trailer is already suffering that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, no black people existed in the 60s, I'm assuming.
It was crazy. I mean, everyone I guess in this like went on to do some crazy shit, but that movie Kick-Ass was felt like it was in the same vein as like one of those kinds of movies, and then you watch it and it's like, oh no, this is good, like this is crazy good.
Well, Kick-Ass was a weird one because Kick-Ass came on this like this pre The Boys, not the comic book, but pre the show era of like, we had just gone through culturally, we had just gone through the 2000s. Marvel was still kind of ascendant. It was like before the first Avengers came out and blew everybody's minds, but everybody was kind of tired of a different kind of superhero movie. Like you had all the Fantastic Fours, Ghost Rider, like all that shit.
Ugh.
And I think like Kick-Ass was part of that, almost trying to make a deconstruction, or almost trying to like turn the genre on its head. And you saw that with there's the James Gunn movie with Rainn Wilson, Super, and then there was the Woody Harrelson movie Defendor, that were like kind of lower budget, more like indie takes on that. But like there were a lot of people trying to fit in that niche around that time, which I find just like kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why it's weird when people say that this movie particularly is a parody movie. I'm like, I feel like there's a difference between like doing some like tributes to two types of films like that. I mean, we're gonna be seeing the new Naked Gun with Liam Neeson and Pam Anderson, which I'm looking forward to because they make a joke about OJ, which is great.
That trailer, I was like, I was honestly, so I'm really looking forward to that because that is such a, again, that is the kind of comedy that it had me wondering, like, what was the last like really absurd, what was the last movie like a Naked Gun that came out? And it like a good one, couldn't tell you. The last one I can think of that hit theaters was probably like Scary Movie 5 or 6 or whatever the hell it was, like 10 years ago now. And it's like I think people are looking. I think that will be a kind of upcoming trend, hopefully, in comedy, because comedy
even
in
with
Hollywood
the new Scary movie coming out.
Yeah. And I feel like it's just been kind of aimless for a while. Comedy has, like, it went through a phase of extremity after The Hangover hit. That was kind of the last like memorable phase, I think, where everybody, actually after Bridesmaids. And I think
I love that one.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the last raunchy phase, and it's just kind of been
now people are afraid of
sense.
A lot of people are afraid of like woke DEI being labeled. I mean, the new Lilo and Stitch is being labeled that as such. I'm like, no, it's the opposite of that, because Pleakley is not a cross-dresser.
I think one thing that a lot of people that were doing that kind of comedy moved to TV because
that's definitely true.
In the age of streaming, the format, you can really do anything. And it's like, the classic 90-minute comedy. I think like there's a clip, I can't remember if can't remember who. I think it's like Vince Vaughn or something. He's talking about like why they don't, make mid-range comedies as movies anymore. And he's like, yeah, like the amount that it really takes to get one of those funded, and then like people kind of really want to, if they're, because I mean it's a profit business, so they're like, the profits that we want to get off of this, like it has to be something really worthwhile. And if you're pitching just like some comedy, people don't really want to do those mid-level comedies anymore. They want either low budget or they want something like high budget. So a lot of those people moved over, including like Judd Apatow, like they moved over to TV. And
or to just selling shit to like Netflix and Hulu and streaming.
And
Yeah.
being
But
like, we
even
have
those
to,
have, like,
we got to
just
write
had
scripts
it.
that explain what's going on so that people are interested. I'm like, they literally make movies and TV shows for people who are on their phones all the time, and I'm like, that's not a thing. Like,
I can't. I like the thing with like Adam Sandler getting upset that like he was, like people really were treating him like shit for a while, but he like signed that Netflix deal where he was like, I'm gonna make the worst 6 movies I've ever made in my life because fuck you guys. And then towards the end of that, Uncut Gems hit, and people were like, oh shit, like Adam Sandler can act. But
he's still got game.
Yeah, but he still had like 2 movies on that list, and it's like literally just he's like, let's get my friends together and they're like doing like the Adam Sandler stupidity, and they get worse and worse because he's like, I don't give a shit. And it's like, oh man, like you could like, I feel like he could have done something transformative if he really wanted to. He could have like if he created like like 6 amazing, I mean, for Adam Sandler anyway, like 6 amazing comedy movies. I feel like Netflix would have pumped way more money into doing that. And like they could have maybe gotten like a streaming version of that. But I don't know, a lot of people moved to TV. And I mean, like, everyone's, so obsessed with like Nathan Fielder and stuff. And it's like they can do some crazy shit with TV now. And at least with like, HBO or like different stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also this like it kind of reminds me of the Saturday Night Live sphere where there are the same 15 to 20 actors that you see in so many, even in bit roles in comedy shows. And like to that point, I was like, wow, when was the last time I saw Damon Wayans? And it like the last thing I really remember him in is New Girl. He had a recurring role on New Girl, and he was in episodes with Rob Riggle. And I'm like, I wonder if they talked about, oh, hey, haven't seen you since the other guys and stuff like that. Because, and then there are so many characters and stuff like that. I just got done watching Curb Your Enthusiasm for the first time. And that is just a...
Really? You've never watched episode, or you never watched it all the way through?
No. And
Palestinian Chicken is still the best episode ever.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating time capsule because it is this show that like... it takes place over the course of like 20 years now, right? And if you include like the break and everything they took in production, and it is just a constant who's who of like, oh shit, Steve Buscemi, oh there's Conan O'Brien, and and Vince Vaughn, speaking of which, and a lot of that just, it reminds me that like, oh yeah, I know most of these people from like bit roles. I think there is a very specific section for those character actors, especially like Rob Riggle.
Well, they had Bobby Lee in a season of Enthusiasm as like his Korean bookie or whatever.
Yep.
But Kristina, you want to do letterbox one-liners so we can jump over to the after party?
Yeah. So, Letterboxd, a place where film lovers, film haters, film curious folks gather with each other to discuss the films they love, the films they did not love, the films they wanted to aim for the bushes for, apparently. This is not just... I
feel that now more than ever.
I did forget to mention that is still, I think, the biggest laugh I had in this movie.
Aim for the bushes,
the fact that they film it all the way down, they show them hitting the pavement, which I didn't think you could do in like a PG-13 movie. It's like, it's such a gutsy sequence, and special shout out to still one of the funniest scenes I think about all the time.
Yep. So, bottom of democracy is not just the Siskel and Eberts of the world. Anyone can, chime and opine as they wish. Here are the Letterboxd one-liners for the other guys. Take it away, Forrest. You learned to dance like that sarcastically?
It's such a good like breaking down that kind of like toxic masculinity line. Even before that was really like a conversation where it's like he's like, I learned it to make fun of the fairy down the street, and it's like that's such a good like
Love
At
it.
the end of the bit where it's like he played like amazing harp, and it's like he learned it to like make fun of the queer kid or something, and it's like
Yeah. ACAP, except for these fine boys in blue.
yeah, I feel like they barely count.
Yeah.
They're like
Honestly, though, for real.
No 1312 over there, you know?
I mean, I would say that Will Ferrell does not count. He's more of an accountant than anything.
Yeah, he just does forensic bullshit.
That line does it hard though, and he's like, "I wanted something stable. I wanted to be an accountant for Law and Order." And it's like that's not what you ended up doing.
Never miss with Gator when he needs his gas.
If he just kept going like that, would he have ended up as like Frank in Blue Velvet when he's like he's like Gator wants to fuck.
A movie that we had Anna Kasparian on and she hated.
Yeah, she hated Blue Velvet.
How dare her?
Really?
Yeah.
I like how
kind
this
of
show,
taste.
not that many people watch it. Our guests are way bigger than the amount of people that watch it. Like,
Yeah, Sam Cedar. Yeah, Pop kept complaining that this movie was yay dumb.
Hey, I mean, yay dumb can mean multiple things because you know you could be taking a little cocaine off the Prius and you'd be like, yeah, this movie's yay dumb.
Yeah, we heard a cocaine covered car heading your way.
The fact that it's you could, if this movie had flopped, which I'm glad it didn't, but if it had, you could have they could have pitched it as like the world's most expensive Prius commercial.
I love how they just don't take the cocaine off the car at all.
It just gets progressively worse, and they don't even bother to clean it up at all.
But the thing that really, the one guy that just takes a little bit and just like does a little bump off his fucking hand, like that had me dying so hard. He's just like, he just walks, he just does it, and they're like, hey, don't do that. And it's like
he's doing cocaine. Shouldn't you be arresting him for doing drugs? No? Okay.
Well, he doesn't even have a gun, he has a wooden gun.
Aim for the bushes.
I feel like that's something that I'm surprised people don't like tell each other to do that on Twitter or something, like trying to get around to, like,
oh no, that's gonna that's gonna be my new I like that. That's funny.
You're like, aim for the bushes.
that's deep cuts. I'm into it.
Mm-hmm. David Fincher, take notes. I think the Social Network came out the same year.
David Fincher's The Policeman or something.
It's basically just an anti-capitalism movie disguised as comedy.
There's so much, and like the fact that I mean both, like I think I said this before we started recording, but both Mark Wahlberg and Rob Riggle are in this, and they're both pretty well known. I mean, I don't think that they're like, I mean, maybe
they're pro-cop.
They're Republicans, right? Like the fact that the multiple Republicans are just like, you know what, we'll put this aside and we'll be in this movie. Like it's fun. Like,
well, I think it speaks, mostly to just how pissed off everybody was at that time at those things in specific.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, New York City is the center for the financial everything, right? Like, so when the financial crisis happened, like, and you're dealing with a movie like 2 years after that, like, that's where people got the most, they really did fucking need a hero at that point. Like, they're not lying.
Hero.
Like, maybe it could be you. I love the line though. It's only Adam McKay that could fit this in and have it be funny for Will Ferrell to say. But when he's like, "What about 8 million concerned citizens just doing their part or whatever?"
Yeah. God, this movie's so funny. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
We haven't really done any TLC references, but the TLC references are so funny in this.
But
so TLC.
Crazy, sexy, cool. Crazy, sexy, cool. There you go.
I don't know a lot of like TLC, but I was I was a little bit lost because I think TLC was very popular slightly before my time. And
I'm 30, so yeah. 31.
Yeah. So like it was like right on that edge of stuff that I've definitely heard it, but in the context of like I've heard it walking around supermarkets and shit.
They had like a little bit of a resurgence, I think. I mean, as like classic like R&B kind of, but like
Yeah.
like, No Scrubs definitely had like a resurgence at one point.
Y'all be-
Okay, yeah, that
people-
definitely did.
Yeah.
Women be singing that song, knowing of the baby daddies you still ended up with. Just saying.
Well,
Anyway.
I remember like I used to hang out with like because like I'm still fucking learning how to drive. It's taking a long time because shit always happens, and I end up being afraid to drive for a while. And like I remember I would always hang out in my friend's car, and I would like hang out of the car, and like when I saw people I knew, I'd be like, "Hey, what's going on?" Like what I mean, shout at them. And then I remember sitting passenger side of your best friend's ride, trying to holler at me, and like the entire song, I'm like, this is coming at my head right now. Like I'm the scrub in this song. They're like, live at home with your mama or whatever, and it's like, no, like I'm
with
like,
your mama. Oh,
I'm living in the basement. I'm the scrub.
Well, those are Letterboxd one-liners. For the other guys, you can follow Forrest at Always Flacco, and he's always doing the movie night extravaganza stuff as well, logging in whatever.
We gotta start doing that again.
We gotta start doing that. Jordan, are you on Letterboxd?
I am. I believe I'm at Bad Durandal, or maybe I did change that to Dead Domain. But yeah, I've been on Letterboxd I'm an old Letterboxd head. Let me see.
Yeah. And you can find me logging occasionally.
Yeah, it is Bad Durandal. Sorry.
Nice. And you can find Conan, who gave this movie a very bad review.
Yeah, he didn't like this movie. That's why he let us do it when he was on tour.
Yeah.
I like that there's just like a list of movies, and it's like a lot of them I'm like, I don't have anything to say about this movie either.
We had a lot to say about this one though. If you want to get into TLC, I do not recommend the last days of Lisa Left Eye Lopez, a documentary that she was filming up until her death. Like her death is actually filmed because they were recording her while she was driving, and that's how she got into that car accident that killed her. I was watching it when I was like 13. I was watching on VH1. I was like this afterwards. I was like,
yeah,
that's rough.
That was like the early part of like it's okay to film people's deaths and put it on the whatever. Like now, if somebody dies, everyone has their phone out.
If we had 9/11 today, let's just say like people would be like,
people
I'm
would
live
be like,
streaming the.
People would be memeing it at the scene. It'd be like, oh, a popular live streamer died when he went to the scene of 9/11 and he didn't expect that the second tower was gonna fall, so he was live streaming the first tower and the second tower fell on him.
Imagine being inside Tower 7 and like 5:40 in the evening.
Yeah. Bill, he was a live streamer that they sent out from Building 7. He's like he's the one on that special payroll that they don't talk much about.
Yeah.
I mean Hassan Pipe. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't know. There's like this was like the moment right before it was like, oh, you can like, or that was like the moment right before it was like, yeah, you can just film people's deaths and put it like TMZ will pay you for it, and it's like,
yeah.
That's like we're in dark times.
Yes, we are.
I mean, in a certain way, that just kind of portended the current media landscape that we're in right now.
Yeah,
especially with like that, and the fact that when Jake Paul or Logan, whoever filmed the
Suicide Force, which when Conan went across on tour, he did go there. And he was
he was at the Suicide Forest, and he said
it's
that
weird.
He said that the last bus, they almost missed the last bus away from the Suicide Forest.
Stayed there overnight.
So he almost got stuck in the Suicide Forest. And can't live stream there.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, I don't believe in like ghosts or anything, but that would be. I don't know. There's a level of unease there that is. It just you don't want to be there.
Yeah. He was just telling us that like he almost got fucking trapped in there because he said that because he just got back from Japan and now he's on tour again. But like he said that like literally like the last bus was leaving and they just got on it, like they just made the last bus to get back to their hotel, and I was like, Jesus Christ. But is that our plugs? Yeah.
Yeah, Letterboxd.
If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then hit the bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. And we'd humbly request that you watch the video to the end, because it helps us with the algorithm and helps more film fans to discover the show. We're also monetized. If you want to get your chat questions definitely read on stream, you can always send us a super chat, which will help us keep the show going. Every cent helps. If you're watching on Twitch, you can gift us a free sub on Amazon Prime with your Prime membership, but getting subs on Twitch is always appreciated, and it helps to follow us on there as well. We also have an audio feed, which is available wherever you download podcasts, if you prefer to listen to podcasts rather than watch the stream. That's updated usually the same day we stream, but watching on YouTube and Twitch is the best way to get the show first, live as it happens. If you want to support us with a monthly donation and get access to all of our after parties forever, which go patron only after we do them, you can become a patron at patreon.com/movie night extra. Link is in the description for that. It really helps us keep the show going since we do have some expenses to make this happen. We also have a Discord community. Link is in the description for that. We sometimes watch movies we cover on there. We get into conversations about everything from film to TV shows to related podcasts. We even have a Discord channel for memes. It's really fun on there. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and Threads. You connect with us on all of those. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Lastly, we recently made a TikTok at Movie Night Extra where we're putting up short form clips from the episodes. Okay, passing this to Conan so he can tell you about his music and this week's Protonic Reversal. Conan, who's on Protonic this week?
Conan ain't here.
Well, he's not here, but I should say, I assume it's too late now, but tonight he's playing at West Side Bowl in Youngstown, Ohio. Tomorrow, the 21st at Lager House in Detroit. The 22nd, Liars Club in Chicago. The 23rd, and then the 23rd through the 26th, I want to say, that's when Caterwaul starts. So, you know, if you haven't gotten tickets for Caterwaul, caterwaulfest.com, I believe, is the link for that, or neutronfriends.bandcamp.com, and you can get tickets for Caterwaul. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be hanging out in in Minneapolis with a GoPro attached to my head. No, I'm not.
With a bunch of names like whores and anal drainage and all that good stuff.
I think
it's like the weird name. I love them.
Horrors was last year. I don't know if we're playing again. My favorite one last year was Gay Witch Abortion. I liked that. That was But yeah, so you get tickets neutronfriends.bandcamp.com or caterwaulfest.com, I believe, or .org. I'm trying to pull it up real quick. caterwaulfest.org, I guess. Yeah. Kristina, what do you got going on?
Well, besides my mom getting scammed of $4,000 and me having to do a GoFundMe over that.
Jesus. At least she got scammed by an American and she wasn't scammed by a Nigerian prince.
I mean, he did have an Indian accent, so he was probably from India, somewheres. But I'm streaming on the Twitch. Just gonna go over politics and pop culture, try to raise funds for that GoFundMe, because I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Everything's gonna have to be in my name, and I'm gonna have to pay for everything because she can't open up a bank account for a while until she gets something in collections paid off. But we're still watching Dark Shadows on Shadow Saturdays. We're still stuck in the year 1897, and I'm just this close to just going, hurry up. Still a lot of brown face. The amount of times I've heard the G word being in this storyline, I should be blackout dead drunk by now.
Which, gay or gypsy?
That one.
That's
not gay.
I mean, I don't know. You can be like, oh, it's the G word. You can't say gay. I don't think. I mean, I guess gypsy. Yeah, gypsy.
It is. I mean, they literally have the white actors in brown face.
Yeah, I remember.
Characters. But this is 1969, so but still.
At one point, I didn't know that saying you got gypped was a slur. Like I never connected that in my mind.
No can do. That's also you can't say that.
I was like in I think I was like in an arts camp or something when I was like a teenager, and I was like, yeah, I got gypped, and someone's like, you can't say that. That's not a thing you're allowed to say anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, just streaming my ass off, and also too, this space is launching in June. sometime in June. The space is Ben Dixon and a letter hacks whole thing. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I gotta do like a test.
I have
streams
the
next week.
here. I gotta pull up my Instagram, but I feel like it's June 8th. I want to say they're doing that.
Oh, it's my birthday.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
It's also, I think it's my well, they're not together anymore. I think that was my parents' wedding anniversary when they were married. Yeah, he said that June 10th. So June 10th, he's launching his space that we're all going to be a part of, and we're all going to promote our stuff together, and that's good because everybody does their like stuff at the same time, and I feel like that's got to change.
On one channel, like we all help each other. It's gonna be great. TYT, you're going down.
I feel like they already kind of did, but
Teo's doing a lot better. Many Assad's things much better.
Someone's gotta start the Young Armenians, and they gotta like take down the Young Turks, or like Young Syrians. They're fighting back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, I don't know. Young Turks might just swallow them though.
Yeah. Jordan, what you got going on?
Oh boy! So I just finished as we were kind of talking about. I just finished the Brianna Wu deep dive, and
we watched that on my stream. Loved it.
Yeah, we're
thank you very much.
We're in the after party. We're definitely gonna try to open it up to questions and be like,
because I got
questions.
Stuff to say.
Yeah, I'm just. Are we still live right now?
Yeah,
we're still live. I'm just saying. We're just promoting whatever, but when we do the after party though, like right after this, I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna open questions.
Yeah, you're all good. I just had that hit my channel. I actually had a new video essay go up today on Kanye West's newest song, Heil Hitler. Just kind of it's an artistic critique of that pile of shit. And,
dude, it's crazy that he's not even the main. He put Dave Blunt as like the main songwriter on that. The dude's
Kanye
walking around.
West doesn't care about black people.
But Dave Blunt is like that. It's that famous fucking rapper that had the oxygen tank because he was too fat to rap.
Yeah, I gotta say this is my first time really hearing Dave Blunt's work, and I can't say I'm too terribly impressed.
I only remember the oxygen tank video going out. I was like, I don't know who this is. I feel like I used to keep up on rappers because everyone's listening to rap, talking about it, and I don't at this point because I'm just like, there's too many of these. Like there's too many rappers that sound terrible, and I feel like I have too much. I don't have enough time left. I'm 30 years old. I need to.
Oh my god, he's only 23. I thought he was older than that. What the fuck?
No,
I mean,
he's like
I bet
kid.
his organs are probably older than that.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I just I do the WTF Now podcast where we have a bunch of great interviews all the time. I have an interview coming up with Kat Abagazala, who is running for running for Congress, a wonderful leftist candidate. We've talked to Stacey K, Elaine McLaughlin, just a lot of great people on the WTF Now pod that I do with my friend Rosa. And then I also do a Magic the Gathering podcast, Podatog, with my friend Bugs Matrix. So I am always doing something if you want to go to Dead Domain.
Word. And so any final thoughts on this movie? I guess I'll start with you, Jordan. Final thoughts.
I'm glad I revisited it. Especially with the gift of hindsight. It's a fascinating relic of a different era in comedy and culture, and I think it's like viewed through that lens elevates it slightly.
Yeah, for sure. And like knowing what Adam McKay was gonna do after that, I feel like
definitely. Like it's one of those things that you see the progression as a creator.
Because like at the time, I remember like being like, "Oh, this is like heady," or like I don't know if I get all the jokes and references at that time, and it's like going back to it. It's like, oh, I see this transitional point. Christina, you love this movie.
Yeah, this
Final
is a
thought.
movie. This is a movie near and dear to my heart. My dad loved it. It was one of our movies that we always watched and talked about together all the time up until his death. And I mean, great comedy, great, one-liners, like another great, like Adam McKay probably is the king of quotable like movies and comedy, it seems. I highly recommend this film, and the sprinkles of anti-capitalism are there. You can tell this film, he was going to be going out to bigger and better things. So if you're someone who wants to watch an Adam McKay movie that you probably haven't seen, The Other Guys is a good where it all began type of movie, because that's when he started doing more political films after that.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what he does next.
Yeah.
I mean, on top of like all the producing that he does. But yeah, we're gonna take a 15-minute break, I guess, or 10-minute break, whatever you guys want, and then we're gonna go to an after party where you can ask Jordan any question about no holds barred questions about the Brianna movie.
Go for it.
And anything else.